Hey everyone, this is Emily from the Career Services Office here at UMHB. And today I just wanted to talk to you all a little bit about the Strong Interest Inventory. So you took that for your class. We do a variety of things here at the Career Center, and one of those things is helping you figure out major options or career options that are a great fit for you. So we'll talk a little bit about that today with a Strong Interest Inventory. Hopefully this is a great way for you to interpret and look at those results that we sent you. But if you are still confused or have questions and you'd like to talk to somebody a little bit more about your options, we would love to meet with you. So if you ever want to stop by maybe and go over this more one-on-one, please do that. We'd be really happy to help. So we can kind of deal with anything from I love my major, but I keep getting a lot of questions about what kind of career options I can do with that, or I have an idea of what career I want to go into, but I'm just not really sure which major gets me there, all the way up to I have no idea what to do with my life. I have no idea what I'm feeling called to do. So hopefully today, looking over the Strong Interest Inventory is a good start to give you some ideas and think about some options and show you how to research some potential careers so that you can kind of start that exploration process a little bit more. So let me share my screen real quickly so you can see what we're going to look at today. What I'm going to look at first is this hexagon. So in the Strong Interest Inventory, it's kind of based around 6 themes, or I like to think of them as types of work. Everybody has their own preferences as far as what they enjoy doing. So I'm just going to go around each of these 6 themes and explain them a little bit. As I'm going through them, it might be a great idea to think of some ways that you see this theme playing out in your own life. And that can be through work, but it can also be through classes that you enjoy, through hobbies and things that you like to do in your free time, and other things like that. So to jump in and start, up here at the top of the hexagon, the first theme is realistic. Realistic people are doers, and so they generally really enjoy work where they can be pretty hands-on in a really non-traditional work environment. So these folks probably do not love sitting behind a desk all day every day, enjoy fixing and repairing things, using tools, being outdoors, as well as athletics. So I imagine a lot of you can relate to some of those things in there. The second option on here is investigative. So investigative people are thinkers. These people really love to solve problems. So if they think of a question, they're probably going to really enjoy figuring out what the answer to that question is. Just generally really curious about things and like to do research and come up with new ideas, analyze data, all of those kinds of things. As you can imagine, these investigative people are really strong in science and math typically, and lends itself well towards their careers, but also just have that curiosity and innovative thinking. The third option, artistic, is probably the most self-explanatory theme on here. People who enjoy creativity in their work in some way. But I will say I like to think outside of the box with this one because, of course, there's ways where some people really love to draw or paint and do some of those traditionally artistic things. But there's a lot of ways to have creativity in your work. So creative writing is a really good example. Also, being able to design something, creative problem solving or creative arguments. Attorneys are actually an artistic profession because they enjoy doing both of those things. So think about just any way that you would enjoy creativity or maybe working independently, coming up with new ideas through your work. The fourth option is social. Social people are helpers, and so they would really enjoy doing work that benefits other people in some way. And that can, again, be in tons of different ways. Lots of careers involve helping people. So certainly careers like nursing, teaching, social work fall in this category, but there are many other professions where you would end up helping other people. And in addition, they also enjoy teamwork, collaborative problem solving, and good communication so that they really feel like they're part of a team in the core of that social category. enterprising people are leaders and persuaders. And so they tend to be the ones who take on that very natural leadership role. They enjoy persuading and motivating other people, and maybe even like debating ideas, taking risks, competitions, all of those things where you can kind of bring out those leadership skills and abilities and use them to your advantage. Lots of business majors fall into this category because it has that really strong leadership component. But again, there's lots of jobs that would allow you to use those natural leadership skills. And then finally, conventional people are organizers. And that doesn't mean that everything in their apartment or dorm room is immaculate, but it does mean that you'd like some organization and structure to your work day to day. So maybe as part of the actual work, you like organizing information, writing reports, managing data, and things like that. But you would also just in general in your workplace value order, accuracy, predictability, stability, and just a dependable work environment where you kind of know, I'm going in, I've got this stuff planned, and here's what I'm going to get accomplished today. So those are the 6 themes. Like I said, hopefully you can kind of think of some ways in your own life that each of those 6 themes relates to who you are and things you enjoy doing, because I think we have a little bit of all of them in us. As we'll see on the strong interest inventory here in just a second, you are going to have 2 that come up stronger than the others, and that's normal. Like I said, they're preferences, so hopefully in your work you can find some things that lend themselves well to those things that you prefer doing or enjoy out of your work. So let's jump over to the strong interest inventory. This is what the first page should look like when you open it up. If you can't find the strong in your email for any reason, please contact us, but you may want to check. It comes from a no reply email address, and sometimes it goes to people's junk mail. So make sure you check there and just see if you have it. I am going to jump to page 3 to get us started. So this page is going to go over those themes I was just talking about, and it's going to show you your top 2 themes, and it's in order. So social would be the highest for this person, and artistic would be the second highest. And it gives you a little bit of description if you are curious to learn more about one of the themes that you see on there. This is absolutely, there you go. This is going to give you a little bit more detail. So some of the stuff I was mentioning, and maybe a few other things that I didn't mention, so that you can get a little bit more information about those themes. It is also going to show you the other 4 themes that didn't come up as highly for you. Again, just kind of as a reminder or something to think about if you want to see what other options came up for you. Okay, now this next part is a new part that we weren't getting into. So this gives you your top 5 specific interest areas. So what it's going to do is it's going to go over broadly that kind of theme or big interest area, and then it's going to give you some related occupations to that area so that you may have some things to look into or think about a little bit. There's all kinds of themes, and it'll show you what those interest areas and themes are here on one of the next pages if you're curious about them. But I know sometimes people look at that and they're like, yeah, those are dead on. Those describe me pretty well. Sometimes when you look, you're like, well, most of those are pretty good, but maybe one is a little unusual or something you weren't expecting, like performing arts. I typically see in strong interest inventories for people, a lot of times it'll come up with maybe things you've done before in a part-time job, maybe jobs your parents do that you're familiar with, or even things that are hobbies. So like if you've seen culinary arts or performing arts in there, and you're like, well, I mean, that's great, but I'm not in culinary school. That's okay. I think that's maybe something you enjoy doing in your free time, and not something you're going to investigate further as a career, but hopefully the other options are good to look into. So again, that might be the kind of thing where if you're stuck, you're not seeing a lot that relates to you potentially, maybe you want to drop by our office. But like I said, for the most part, most people will get 3 to 4 that they're like, yes, that's what I was thinking of, and that fits me really well. So hopefully that'll give you some really good options to start looking into. So what you can do through here, this has a lot of links in it, like I said, to kind of help you get started in that exploration process, reading more about jobs, learning important information about them, like what kind of a degree you need to get into each job. I think that's really important to think of, because a lot of times when people come talk to us, it's, well, I just really want something I can do in 4 years, or yeah, I'm not afraid of spending some more years in school. Let's talk about my options. So think about things like that. It'll tell you job skills and abilities. It'll give you an idea of pay rates, how in demand the job is. So when I graduate, are there actually going to be jobs as a recreation therapist, or am I going to be stuck looking for something else? And do I need to have a couple of options that'll work well for me? So think about all those things when you're planning your career. It's never a bad idea to have a plan A, B, and C, just to kind of think of a few different options. And it may change as you go through your education. You never know. But when you go down to each of these interest areas, you can see that it'll talk about areas of study. So if you open up that, it'll give you ideas of majors. I will say not every one of the majors that's going to pop up here is something that we specifically offer, but you should find a couple of options. So for instance, child development is not one of our majors here, but psychology, social work, sociology, we have all of those classes here. And then in some cases like counselor education, that's a master's degree. So it's not going to give you super specific information, but as you kind of research what all the options are, I think you'll start to notice what jumps to the top a little bit. Okay. And then it went through those career fields and activities as well. The related occupations, this is a good place to start with some job title ideas. Like I said, I know for some people it's, I kind of know what I want to do generally, but I just haven't thought of the exact job titles or really looked into it a ton. So this is going to give you a way to research those a little bit more. If you click on the links to the job titles, it's going to take you to this resource called ONET. ONET is a Department of Labor database that has all of that information I was mentioning about jobs, tons and tons of information, probably more than you want to know about some of them, but it is a really helpful starting point. So up here at the top, it's going to give you a brief overview about what it would be to be a mental health counselor. And then it's going to go over those tasks, technology skills you might need, knowledge, skills, and abilities, work activities, what you'd be doing day to day. So kind of how your job would break down a little bit. And then this is the part that I was mentioning before. So you're going to notice here that 62% of the people who have reported being mental health counselors have a master's degree. So that's a pretty good indicator that, okay, I'm going to need to get a little bit more education and certification to be in this career field. But that's why it's great to start researching so early. And then, like I said, wages, how quickly is it growing? It's always nice to see much faster than average, because that should mean there's some good jobs out there by the time you graduate. You can even see by state if you want to. But then this section I love, because if I read about mental health counselors and I'm like, that sounds really interesting, I'm not totally sold on it, I want to look at other options, this is going to have some things that are similar and do similar tasks and things like that at work, but maybe are slightly different. So if I looked into this social workers, maybe I could see more of a job that I could do with a bachelor's degree, or maybe I can see a much more specific type of counselor or therapist, like a marriage and family therapist. So it's going to give you a lot of options on here. It's a really great, reliable resource to start researching careers on. So I really encourage you, when things jump out at you as interesting, or even if they just jump out at you as, I've never heard of that job before, I'm really not familiar with what a speech pathologist is, or whatever else, you can look it up and get more information to kind of start delving into those jobs a little bit more. So you can go through that on all 5 of these areas that came up as strong for you, and spend some time in it and really think about it. This page here is going to have the areas that didn't come up quite as strongly for you. So these are those, again, the broad categories of work. These are all the other ones that you could have seen come up, and they're all links, again, to that page where you can see the more detailed information. So if there's anything that you were expecting to see or looking into that you're not noticing on the main 5 interest areas. You can certainly look into it a little bit more. And just because it didn't come up in there doesn't mean that you can't do a job in that field at all. It just means that it didn't come up quite as strongly in your day-to-day preferences. And then this page has just a brief summary of what we were looking at on the other pages. So your top 2 interest area themes, and then those top 5 broad categories of work that are interesting to you. It also has a few more links to some of those resources that we were talking about here at the bottom. But that's really what you're going to see on here. I think, like I said, it's a great starting point for starting that research process. Maybe for some of you, just confirming that what you're interested in studying is coming up. You're seeing it in here. You feel good about that. So as you get a little bit further, you'll probably need to do some more detailed research about your career at some point. And we have a lot of resources to help you with that. If you go to the career services page, so we're under resources and career services, and then I've clicked the student resources drop down. Pretty much everything you'll need will live here. One of the other resources I like to use with the strong interest inventory a lot is this jobs for my major resource. And the reason I really like it is because, okay, I've read about like one job that I'm really interested in, but again, I'm thinking I might want a few options about what to do with my particular degree. So you can open up any one of the degree plans on here, and it's going to give you a ton of information about what you can do with it. So English is a great example, because sometimes you're really interested in the classes, you love it, but you just can't think of a lot of jobs that are out there. Or maybe you've thought of one in particular that you like, but you're trying to find some more options again. This is going to go over a specific area of job and then give you some job titles. It's also generally going to give you some employers that would hire for those types of jobs, and then strategies about how you can get into those professions. So I really like to think about this too, because again, kind of like what ONET does, it'll help give you ideas for what you need to do over the next 4 years to get into that career. So whether that's internships, shadowing, joining clubs to build your resume, it's going to give you some ideas of what you want to look for and do. And we have found that if you really intentionally make career planning a 4-year process where you're breaking down and doing just a few things each semester, hopefully it'll make your life much easier by the time you get a little bit closer to graduation, because you're not trying to do everything at once. And so it's going to keep going over more areas like that with the job titles, the employers, and then the strategies about how to get into those jobs. So like I said, I find this a really helpful resource once you've gotten a little bit closer to a job or a major, or have some ideas, or if you're just juggling between a few different options. This is sometimes a really great way to narrow down those options and get a little bit more detail. And then it's got some other occupational outlook information similar to what we were looking at here at the bottom. So you can open that for any major. We have everything that's here on campus. Sometimes it's called something slightly different. So like kinesiology is kind of like exercise sports science. It's just that some other schools call it something different. So that's really all I'm going to talk about today as far as the strong interest inventory. Like I said, if you really want to talk through those options or bounce ideas off of somebody, you are more than welcome to stop by. We would love to go over this with you. If you have time to do that, we're doing appointments in person in our office or by Zoom if you would prefer to do something virtually. So reach out. We would love to help you figure out what you're planning on doing and help connect you with the resources to make it happen. So have a great day. Hope the strong interest inventory was helpful, but let Career Services know if you need anything else. Thanks.